Welcome to Ask Jerry and Rebecca, part of Cold Wax Academy, a free video series where we answer your questions about cold wax medium. Welcome to this episode of Ask Jerry and Rebecca. Today we're going to be talking about collage and cold wax medium. We've received this question many times over the years, and frankly, we've resisted answering it for two reasons. One, neither Rebecca nor I use collage in our work, so we don't have any personal experience with it. The second reason that we delayed is because we wanted there to be, over time, enough community and individual experience with collage that we felt like the cumulative amount of experience gave people some degree of certainty about how to proceed with collage and cold wax medium. Many people ask us about collage and cold wax medium, and often these are people who have used either acrylics or encaustic medium to work with collage. If you've done this in the past, if you've used acrylics or you've used encaustic, you know that they're quite strong and quite adhesive. You can really push the limits of collage or even assemblage with encaustic and with acrylic mediums. If you want to use cold wax medium with collage, it's a different medium. It's not as adhesive and it's not as strong. With that in mind, you just have to change your expectations. It's not that you can't do it, but remember that every medium has its limits and its limitations. Collage is going to bump up against one of the limits and one of the limitations of cold wax medium is that its adhesiveness and strength are just not comparable to something like encaustic or acrylics. The information that we're passing on to you today basically doesn't come from us firsthand. It comes from many artists who are either in our book or have been guests on Cold Wax Academy that have been willing to share their quite comprehensive experience of using collage with cold wax medium. Some of them use it with photography, some of them use it with acrylics, and I'll explain how, and some of them use it just with cold wax medium. I want to give you their names because it might be really valuable to go and look at their websites, see their work, and then perhaps you might want to reach out to them personally if you have any specific questions that aren't answered here today. Here are those artists. Pam Peterson, Sarah Post, Mary Mendla, Jenny Herzog, Blaise Massini, Leah Rothstein, and Linda Van Wyck. Before we jump into the specifics of the techniques, some people have reported that they feel that Dorland's cold wax medium is better for collage than Gamblin's. They've reported this because they think that Dorland's is a bit denser, a bit stickier, and a bit stiffer. And those qualities go together to make it more suitable for collage. Now, I'm just reporting that from others who have used the two different mediums with collage. It's not from Rebecca or me, and we don't have any personal experience or recommendations either way. This is really something you'll have to try for yourself. So the first way I want to talk about collage with cold wax medium is essentially creating underlayers of collage using either acrylics or encaustics. So you create a base of acrylic and collage or a base of encaustic and collage, and then you paint over the top of those with cold wax medium. Now, if you do that, you're going to have to let some of that collage show through unless it's purely for textural reasons. And so you're going to have to use either transparent paints, thin layers, or you're going to have to leave open spaces so that what's behind can show through. So to do that, you simply do the acrylic collage, the encaustic collage, and then you take your mixture of cold wax and oils and paint over those however you see fit. In these examples, we see Sarah Post, Mary Mendla, Jenny Herzog, Leah Rothstein, and Linda Van Wyck combining acrylics with photography, with painted papers, and with other things as an underlayer, and then working over those with cold wax medium. So the second way I want to talk about collage and cold wax medium is actually embedding things in your layers of cold wax medium and oils as you go. This is the more challenging because this is where we start to bump up against those limits of adhesiveness and strength of cold wax medium. Now, if you want to layer in very thin types of papers, very thin types of fabric like silk, maybe organza, something like that, you can probably just layer those right in, put the cold wax over them, and keep on going. They're thin, they're absorbent, and they probably won't create any issues. We've seen Leah Rothstein do that, and we've seen Cornelia Foster do that, and they have not reported any issues with layering those kinds of things in their work. Pam Peterson developed a specific technique that she shared with us that I'm going to share here with you. Because the problem a lot of people have when they try heavier fabrics or heavier papers is that when they layer it in, it starts to curl at the edges. And this becomes quite frustrating because you think it's down and then you come back later and all of a sudden one of the edges or all the corners have pulled up. Obviously this is problematic. Pam Peterson came up with this technique where she recommends that you take the paper or the fabric, you coat both sides with cold wax medium so that it's saturated through, and then you dry those flat. So now they actually have cold wax medium embedded in them, and they're dried flat, and so you can layer them into your surface very easily as you go. She's layered in some fairly heavy papers. She's layered in sheets of music, sheets from novels and other kinds of books, and not had any issues. So this is how we would recommend that you incorporate thicker materials into cold wax medium, that you layer cold wax in that material, whether it's fabric or paper, you let it dry flat, and then you embed it as you go. There is going to be a degree of experimentation here. In other words, how thick can that be? How many layers can you put on top of it? How much weight can the surface bear? We don't have a great answer for that yet because I think we're just still too new in all of this. But we encourage you to try and see what happens. And then we would love it if you would share your experience with us. There's one last way I want to mention, and I mention this because we know of people who do it, but we have to be definitely cautious about this. And Rebecca and I want you to be very cautious if you do this and you send your work out into the world. We know some people who are taking fabrics or papers, saturating them with acrylic medium, and then letting them dry flat so that they essentially have a prepared layer of collage material with acrylic embedded. They then embed those in between their layers of cold wax medium and oils. Now, I understand the theory that we can paint cold wax and oils on top of acrylics. That's okay. But all the conservationists that have studied layering of oils and acrylics have said time and time again, you cannot or should not put acrylics on top of oils because the acrylics tend to delaminate. They tend to pull away. It's just the physics of that interaction. What we worry about is that layering those acrylic collage materials in there leads to the possibility of cracking or delamination over time. Now, we could be entirely wrong. These pieces of art might last for decades or centuries with no problems. The problem is that we just don't know. And so if you do this, you just have to be cautious and say that it's experimental, and you really don't know how this is going to hold up over the test of time until we have that test of time. And we just don't have that yet. But we, again, encourage you to experiment, try it, and please share your experiences with us. We're always looking to gather more information to disseminate to this community. So thank you for coming today, and I hope this answers your questions about working with collage and cold wax medium.